staff at the hospital. And then we also just found out that the PACS program is really wanting to up their leadership training programs too. So I'll probably be doing maybe even some traveling to speak with different PACS residents, probably some curriculum development with that. So that'll be a good opportunity as well. Spiritual care in the community, I think part of my role there will be some things within the missionary team, maybe small groups and other kind of spiritual care, maybe even speaking in the community. Keeping our daily lives on track, that's going to be a challenge. And then other duties as assigned by God. So there's some unique challenges. I'm going to try to go quickly through these that we're going to be facing. One is language. And I think, are you going to talk about this? I'm talking about this. Language. So in Ethiopia, there's a language. It's called Amharic. This is it. So it's got 120-something characters. And it's kind of like Hebrew and Arabic had babies, right? And we've spent a whole month there, and I literally learned 0 words. So this is a huge prayer request, and for those of you who don't know this, I'm hearing impaired, so I'm completely deaf on my left side. So hearing words and learning a language is also a little bit more challenging too for me, so plus we're 50. So please pray for us. This is probably our biggest request. That does say Coke up there, I think. So maybe I could figure that out. I don't know.
Then politically, it's a little challenging right now in Ethiopia. They just went through a situation where their prime minister or their president stepped down. There have been a lot of protests. A lot of the people in Ethiopia feel like they're not represented by the government, and there's been protests, and some people were killed, and it was a little bit of a mess, and there was a state of emergency declared, and the prime minister stepped down, and they just chose a new prime minister who, from everything I read and talk to people about, is a good guy. He comes from a mixed family, meaning his mother was Christian and his father was Muslim. So he kind of has an appeal to both groups of people that are prominent in the country. But he is a practicing Christian, evangelical, and he's younger, and he seems to be liked by the younger people who've been doing a lot of the protesting. So there's some uncertainty politically about how things are going to play out there. So that's kind of a unique situation or a unique thing about Ethiopia. Spiritually, this is what it looks like. A lot of people say, how many Christians are there? The biggest group of religious group there are Orthodox Ethiopians, which is one of the Orthodox versions of the Greek Orthodox, Russian Orthodox, the Ethiopian Orthodox. A very, very, very old religion, and it's a little bit like Catholicism. There's a lot of rituals, there's a lot of traditions that go along, and not always a relationship part of it. So that's about 40% of the population. A third is Muslim, especially the area between where the capital and where we're going to be. It's like 98% Muslim. Like when you drive, you see nothing but mosque, and mosque until you get to our area, which has more Christians. And it's about 20% evangelical. As far as the medical issues I'll be facing, maternal mortality is a big deal throughout Africa, and it's a big deal in Ethiopia. Maternal mortality means women who died during or right after childbirth. And I did some quick numbers. So at Brookwood, I've been there for about 20 years. In my recollection, I can think of, and we've never had, since I've been there, we've not had a patient that's passed away. But the hospital itself, I think, has had 3 maternal deaths since I've been there in 20 years. If you took those numbers from Ethiopia and applied them to Brookwood, we would have 2 to 3 women dying every week in the hospital. 2 to 3 women every week. In which, if that was here, we would not stand for that. We'd be, people would be protesting, saying this is terrible. So there's a lot of room for improvement, or a lot of things that can be done to help improve that. So that is a big issue that I face there. Cervical cancer, which here is not very common, but is very, very common. Every time I've gone, I see a woman who comes in with an advanced case of cervical cancer. In many cases, it's not operable, and she's going to die. And that's preventable. Prolapse is one of those female surgeries that we alluded to earlier. is an issue with the typical woman we see with this is, well, first of all, women don't know how old they are. They don't. They'll come in, they're somewhere between 40 and 70.
Very convenient.
But they don't know how old, they honestly don't know how old they are. So, but they know how many children they have. So our typical patient who comes in with prolapse is, we think, in her 50s or 60s, but we don't really know. And she's had on average about 7 or 8 children, which is very common over there. And prolapse means everything's coming out down there. And it's due to a combination of having had a bunch of babies, and they live a very, very hard life and lift a lot of heavy things. And so it's really disabling. They can't work. They're not able to have a proper relationship with their husband. And so it's one of the major things that we deal with. Probably half the surgeries we do over there have to do with prolapse. So it's a huge issue over there. There's not much as far as preventative care. HIV, people always ask about that. It's maybe about 2-ish% over there, which isn't huge compared to some other places, but it's a constant problem. Again, every time I go over there, we have at least one HIV positive person with some complications. And infertility is a big deal. You'd think that it wouldn't be, because if women are having 7 or 8 babies, why would infertility be a problem? Well, the women who can't have babies are shunned and are usually divorced by their husbands. And so there's a huge pressure on women to have children, and if she's not able to, or she might be married to a man who has 4 or 5 other wives, and if they have given him children and she has not, again, he's going to leave her. And then if a woman gets divorced over there, no one will marry her again, especially if they know that she can't have children. So infertility is, again, one of the more common things that we see in the clinic at SODO. And then the calendar, some of you might have heard this. It is back in the 1500s, when the whole world decided to go to like one calendar called the Gregorian calendar. Ethiopia did not. And so it is 2010 in Ethiopia. They have a different...
And we are 42 years old.
So they have their own calendar, and it has 13 months. There's 12 months that have 30 days, and then there's a tiny little leftover month that has 5 days, unless it's a leap year, then it has 6 days. They're on a different, all the holidays are different. So Christmas is actually in January. Easter is off. I mean, everything is very, very different over there. And time is different. So time begins at sunrise, which is 6 a.m. And so if you say, I'm going to come over and see you at 12, well, I mean, that's not, it's not. Everything's off by 6 hours there. So it gets a little confusing. So time is off too.
Another challenge is just kind of the daily living. So we'll be, there's no dryers there. There is a washing machine, but there's no dryers. So you get to hang all your clothes and whatnot out on the line every day, which is a little challenging because they have 2 rainy seasons. So it might take a while to get some things dry there. And even just shopping, I mean, things that are easy for us to get here are not so readily available there. There's a lot of fresh produce. A lot of the people on the grounds of the hospital have really nice gardens. If you look at the pictures out there of the area, it's very, very green and lush because it's about, the temperature is about 55 at night, 75 in the day, all year round. Even during the rain. I know, don't you all want to come? Even during the rainy season, it's really, really nice temperatures. And so the soil is incredible. I sent a picture to Maxine of the beautiful soil. So things grow nicely. So there's tons of produce, which of course you probably know Nate doesn't eat any vegetables. So this is going to be a problem for him. But it's just going to be challenging getting things and cooking, and just things that are easy for us here will be a little bit more challenging there. Plus, every time we venture out, we're white. And so we end up with a lot of children coming along the road with us, and people talking to us or touching us or asking for money. So it's really, you can't be inconspicuous at all. So can't just run in a store and get something. It's a production. And then monthly expenses, this is in our challenges of, so we're raising all of our support for going, and our monthly budget is about $5,000 that we're raising. And these are the things that are part of that. Just, living includes our housing and all just basic travel expenses to and from. We plan to maybe come back about once a year. What else? Ministry. So it's kind of expected that when they have patients that can't afford, that the doctors help defray that cost. So there'll be a number of minutes. I think this 10% is actually going to be pretty low compared to what we'll end up giving. And not knowing exactly what I'm going to be doing, probably our ministry expenses are going to be a little bit higher. So we have the unique challenges, but we also have unique blessings. And so I think it's a huge blessing to be able to fulfill God's purposes, to know we're going to be making a difference. There'll be great community there. There's, I forget how many, 6 different families that are there, living all in the same area. So we get along really well with everyone. We really love. There's a new couple that are living there that just moved there this August that we really hit it off with, and they're both runners. So we'll have people to run with, which is a big thing for us to be able to have that. We'll also have you guys, our support team, prayer support, and financial support, or however you choose to support us. New adventures and chances to grow. We love to travel. We like to try new things, so that'll be a blessing for us. And it's a beautiful country, and the people are so kind and hospitable, and we're looking forward to learning the language so we can learn the people and be in relationship with people there. And this is our house where we'll be living. It's on the grounds of the hospital. It's a duplex. It has 2 bedrooms, bathroom, living room, kitchen, and a little screen porch. So very comfortable. We have this extra room if anyone wants to come and visit. Plus we have there's a whole guest house right next door to us that if a team comes, they can stay in. So we can accommodate, 10 people in there or something like that. So I think, there's challenges. There's challenges anywhere you are. There'll be challenges there, but we also believe that the blessings are going to far outweigh the challenges. And it brings me back to the John verse from before, but from the fullness of his grace, we have all received one blessing after another.
And then kind of wrapping things up now here shortly, our timeline. So here's what's going to be happening. We are doing fundraising and preparation, which is what we're doing right now, this moment, until July. And then in July, we'll be heading to Colorado. The hospital or that St. Luke's Health Foundation requires that we do some missionary training out there for a month. So we'll be out there mid-July to mid-August in Colorado Springs.
Also, part of our preparation is selling our home, getting rid of all of our worldly possessions.
Our dog.
And finding a home for our dog. So, she's not good with little children, and she's not good with other animals. So, if y'all know of anybody, we're still on the search for that. She's not going with us. Mark Rhodes. Yeah?
Rhodes, congratulations. Your girls will love her. Yeah. Okay, so Colorado from mid-July to mid-August, and then we will be going to the capital and staying there and living there, so not in Soda, but in the capital for 3 months to do language school. And that's, if you ask me what's my biggest concern or worry, it's that. We're, like Cheryl mentioned, we're both 50. I'm not a language person. Cheryl's not really either. It's not our thing. But we need to do it. And so that will be from August to October. And then finally in November, we'll be full-time there, then in Soda, living and doing our thing. If we could bypass the language thing, or learn it in our sleep or something like that. So again, thank you, and each of you are part of our story. This is not me going to Ethiopia. This is not Cheryl. This is not us going. This is all of us. We're the body of Christ. And when one person goes or when one couple goes, we all go. And so you guys are all a part of that, and you're all a part of our story, and you wouldn't be here if you weren't a part of our story. You're not, random people off the street that we brought in.
Actually, I think there is one person.
It's okay. One random person?
One random person, but it's okay. We're glad you're here.
So we hope that you will continue to be part of our stories that unfold. So what can you do? Number one, and the most important thing really just is to pray for us and be mindful of what we're doing and be thinking about us and just lifting us up in prayer. And then the second thing is giving. And as Cheryl said, we do have to raise our own support. And we're not good at asking people for things because we've never had to do that before. But it's part of this process. It's something that we have to do, and it's something important to do. I was talking to one of the guys in charge of PACS yesterday, and he was saying, the physicians who try to go over and just kind of do it all on their own and say, I'm just going to pay for this out of my retirement or whatever. They end up not doing well, because they just feel like they're solo, Lone Ranger, missionaries over there, which, works okay for a week or two or 6 months, but then after a while, it gets hard. I mean, being overseas is going to be difficult, and we can't do that without the prayer support, the emotional support, and then giving is going to be part of that too. So really, having people who can be part of that process is going to be key for us as well. And then follow along of what's going on. We will have a blog that we'll be updating. For those of you, if we have your email addresses, we'll probably be able to send you some stuff that maybe we can't put on the blog. We have to be careful about what we put on the blog because the government looks at everything that's on the internet over there, and sometimes they just shut the whole internet down. So if we've got your information, you'll probably be able to get some information or some things about what's going on that we can't put out publicly on the blog. And visit. We've got an extra bedroom. There is a guest house because they do have teams of missionary groups that come and serve over there. So we would love to have other people. And then just tell people about what we're doing and share and point them in our direction. So,
Yeah, if you have connections of people already living in Ethiopia, that's great. Or if you have a Sunday school class, we'd be happy to share with them or anything like that. My brother, we spoke at their Sunday school class at Double Oak Mountain Church. Is that right? It's called Double Oak Community Church a couple of weeks ago. So, all right. You have a card. You should have gotten a card when you came in. So if you would fill it out, and if you don't know what you want to say on it, it's fine. You can just put your name and address and email. That's fine. And mark on there contact me later or whatever. If you've everything you've heard and you don't want to do anything and you never want to hear from us again, then don't give us your card. Hopefully you do. Our home group will be meeting virtually. But we do have really nice internet there. That's one of the things that's important to us. So we can WhatsApp, we can talk to you like we talk to you here. Probably even more, but texting and phone calls and that kind of thing, we can do that here.
We want to have just a few minutes for those who, if you want to ask a question, it's been burning on your mind about what we're doing or where we're going or anything. Anybody have anything they want to ask? Yes? Yeah. The residents come, great question. So they're all African. Most of the residents in our program come from Ethiopia, but not all. When we were there earlier, a couple years ago, there was a resident from Rwanda, and so he was there, trained there, and now he's back in Rwanda serving. So most of them come from the country where the program is, but they come from all over Africa. About half the programs are in East Africa, the other half are in West Africa. And again, I can't say enough good things about that PACS program. It is just great people doing great things.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, so the question is, what happens to the women who can't have babies and then, kind of get left by their husbands? Honestly, I don't know. I mean, they look for jobs. They try to support themselves. They don't have anyone to support themselves in their old age, and that's why people have a lot of kids over there. So
probably their families are their extended family, sisters and that kind of thing a lot of times. But there is a lot of homelessness. There are a lot of street people. There are a lot of street children where we'll be. Just you walk out and there's kids everywhere, little kids, 2 years old. If you drive out in the countryside, they'll be, just see children. They're the 4-year-old's taking care of the 2-year-old. So.
Did you have a question? Yeah.
Carolyn's worried about us drying our clothes. Well, here's the thing. There's no ductwork. Yeah, that's the problem. Because Grant, our friend Grant back in the back, he's an architect, and he was trying to design this little space for us to add on to our house. And it turns out we can't really do it because the window for the bathroom is the ventilation. And we couldn't build something right on top of it. So there is no ductwork in that area. People don't know how to do that. Yep.
Yeah, there is hot water, and there is electricity most of the time. The hospital has 2 generators, one's for the hospital and one's for the rest of the compound. So we're very blessed. You know, yeah, a lot of places in Africa, the electricity is out a lot or not at all, but we're blessed with electricity most of the time. Now,
But
you do
things do go out sporadically. Like I know last year they were without water at all for maybe 4 days. Even the hospital had no water. So you can imagine that's a really bad thing for a hospital not to have any water.
Yeah, and it's routine. I mean, during surgery, routinely, all the electricity goes off. So you have to kind of pray you're not in a critical moment. You have to basically stop and wait for the generators to kind of kick back on, which can take a few minutes. So, but we have generators, and we're blessed, you know, compared to a lot of other locations in Africa. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, all the houses have like a little filter thingy that you put water in the top, and then you wait for it to drip down, and you drink out of
Yeah.
it.
So when
yeah.
you brush your teeth, you have to use that water to brush your teeth. You can't.
Yeah. You know, when I was there last time, it's funny you say that because I was having coffee with the residents, and I'm like, so why can you drink the water and I can't drink the water? And they're like, well, you Americans have a weak stomach. And, and I'm like, well, when I get over here, I'm going to get a strong stomach. I'm going to start off with like drinking a little bit each day. And then, not really. In case my parents are listening. Yeah. I would never do that, Mom.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know a
answer.
lot about the medical care of children. You know, our hospital is struggling as far as pediatric care. There's only one pediatrician, but she's not really a pediatrician, and she's going to be having a baby here in the next few months, and they're going to be left with no pediatrician. So that's a huge need. If you all have friends that are pediatricians, tell them to come to Soto, Ethiopia, because I don't know all the details and all the nuances, but I know that it seems to me like it's a huge need. Yeah.
To speak to another issue, so Alexa works with children who are victims of human trafficking, and so a lot of these street children are being trafficked. Not sex trafficking necessarily, although I'm sure that is happening, but so if they're out on the street and they're asking for money, a lot of times they have someone who they're giving that money to. So even you don't want to give children money because they're not really going to be able to keep that money. It's part of the being trafficked at times. Yeah. Other questions?
Yes.
The lawyer is going to ask a question.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, so the area where we are in is called the Southern Nation Peoples Group, I think is what it's called. It's considered a very safe area. A lot of the protests and a lot of things that have been going on don't involve that region or that group of people. And so there's a lot of petty thievery. And for instance, there were like a couple weeks before we got there on our last trip, one of the houses where the missionary couples live was actually broken into. But it's not violence, you know. It's more like petty thievery. So, I've always felt safe there, and really anywhere I've gone, I felt safe.
They have guards at the hospital. So they have a guard at the front of the hospital, or multiple guards, and then in the back of the area is where the houses are, and there are 3 guards there. This is kind of an interesting thing. So when this house got broken into, what they do is that they arrest the security guards for the house being broken into. So they go to jail, and the hospital was not permitted to bail them out because it looked like it was some kind of a conspiracy or whatever. So,
Yeah, the presumption of innocence is not, it's a,
Right.
It's in some ways a uniquely American thing. In
Yeah.
a lot of countries, that's not the assumption. So there, you're assumed to be guilty. You're assumed to be in on it if you're a security guard. So added incentive to do your job well.
yeah. Yes, we do. We will have a mailing address there. Yeah. So last fall, or last December, beginning of December, I mailed a package to one of the families there. It weighed 6 pounds. It cost $69 to mail, and it got there. It was a Christmas package. It got there in the middle of February. So, yeah, it's a little pricey and late. But yes, we will have you can send cars or pretty easily. Anything else? Yes. That's my brother. Spring, not till spring probably. We'll get there to where we're going to be in November, and then we need to get settled. So probably spring, summer.
Spring break, Ethiopia, 2019.
2019.
It's just like Panama City. So. Yes?
Yeah, so for medical people, there are, for sure. And then for other people, there are different projects on the grounds. The more we learn about the community, there'll be other things that we can do. Groups come there pretty consistently, so yes, and then they have that, like we said, that guest house for people to come and stay. So it does take a long time to get there. It took us about 40 hours on our way there. It took us about 30 hours on the way back. But there is now a direct flight from Dulles, and there's about to be one from Chicago to Addis. So it's getting better. But yeah, we would love to have a team come and do some stuff. We'll know more once we get there about what that could be. Also, college students, we would love to have like a summer, come stay with us for the summer. Olivia Brookins. We are definitely open to that. There's a lot of Peace Corps volunteers in that area that stay in the guest house. So we're excited about getting to have some conversations with them and getting to know them because they go to the guest house because they can take showers and use the internet there. Yes?
The question is, where's the nearest medical school, and do students rotate through? I don't know the answer to that exactly. I think the closest medical school is maybe 3 or 4 hours away.
Well, in Soto at the...
There's not a medical school there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's about 3 or 4 hours away. And they don't really have any students that rotate through. They have residents from the Capitol who rotate through, who are doing orthopedic surgery, but they don't have any students who are rotating through.
Anybody else? All right. Thank you so much for coming. I think my brother has an offering plate. I think you don't have to put money in it, but if you want to just drop your card in there, you could do that. If you want to get one of these little fun things that Tambra made, you can do that. If you don't have money with you, she'll make a deal with you, right? So I love them. I think they're so great, the little heart right there where we're going to be. So if you have questions, Mark? Oh, yeah. Good question. So there's a paper out on the table out there that explains how to give online. It's kind of a lengthy process, steps-wise, so it's all lined out for you on there. although I'm sure most of you are smart enough to figure it out. So you can give like on a monthly basis through the website, or you can do one-time contributions. So, you know, when you do mission,